I would say we met in a chat room. Is that accurate?
My follow-up to him was, hold my beer. Watch me prove you wrong. My journey to parenthood through adoption was the ultimate case study and the biggest piece of that ego work that I did.
That could be for some a hot take, and I
Yeah.
love that you're leaving that.
I looked around, I was the only woman, I was the only one under 40, and it was like, no, I was there for a reason.
Welcome to In the Room on Purpose. This show is for women who are building, leading, questioning, stretching, and most importantly, becoming. I'm your host, Alyssa, and I sit down with powerful women to have honest conversations about ambition, leadership, growth, and what it actually looks like to find your voice and own your space. Sit down, get comfortable. I am so happy you're here. Jennifer, welcome to In the Room on Purpose.
Thanks for having me.
I would say we met in a chat room. Is that accurate?
We met in the world's most successful cold call.
We did.
Right?
We did. A highly impressive call where we both logged in to learn a little bit more. And I have never seen such energy coming from a side chat.
Also, probably a little bit of everybody's ADHD that we're so accustomed to, like, yeah, I'm going to listen to the meeting and then have the meeting over on the side. But yeah, the energy.
Yeah. We're going to play a lightning round of this or that. Early mornings or late nights?
Mornings.
Wow. Okay. Big vision or small experiments?
Big vision.
Nice. Momentum or patience?
Momentum. I have no patience.
I could have guessed that.
Never. Yeah.
Instinct or data?
Instinct. Find the data later that supports the instinct.
Amen. Control or surrender?
Lord. Well, after many years of therapy, still control. Still control. So
That's how it goes sometimes.
yes.
This episode is brought to you by Coffitivity, a science-backed sound platform designed to help your brain focus. Coffitivity recreates the sounds of a coffee shop. Research shows that moderate ambient noise, like a cafe environment, actually enhances creativity and cognitive performance. It simulates abstract thinking without all of the distractions that come from lyrics or heavy beats. Lucky for us, our friends at Coffitivity have given us a 20% off code for you to try it yourself. Teachers use it in classrooms, and if you're in college, this is the perfect way to maximize that all-nighter. Their ad-free subscription ranges from $2.99 to $3.99 per month, and our code INTHEROOM20 will save you 20% off any subscription option that you choose. So whether you are preparing for your Q2 meeting, brainstorming on strategy, reviewing performance reviews, or redoing your resume to find your next job, or just trying to get through your daily to-dos without getting distracted, this gives your brain the perfect background hum to stay focused. Head to coffitivity.com, use the link INTHEROOM20 to join me and 300,000 other listeners today. Before we get into a little bit about your history, what I found really intriguing when I was digging into your story was the early days and the confidence that was instilled early on and how that's been a through line throughout your career. So take us back to little Jennifer and your start as a business owner.
So, little Jennifer, I don't remember there ever being an idea, a concept, anything introduced in my world of where I couldn't or shouldn't be anything other than fully confident. I think you hear a lot of women especially talk about the voices they heard or the things they heard when they were a kid that made them question what they could do because they were a woman, etc. I don't have any of that. And I don't necessarily have, it's not like I come from a long line of trailblazing women. My grandmother was a homemaker, as they would, and my grandpa was the one that said, well, no wife of mine is ever going to work. But what I also know is the day my grandpa retired, I've learned this later, but the day my grandpa retired from his career, my grandma said, fantastic, I'm retiring too. What's for dinner? And she stuck to it. And I think when you say my early business, I think you might be talking about selling rocks.
I am talking about selling rocks, absolutely.
I grew up in the middle of the woods, in the middle of nowhere. Um, to get to our house, the directions were up and around a big hill, down and around a big hill, go past the tree in the middle of the road. Those are the actual, like there's not cross streets. There's nothing else to give you. So it tells you where we grew up. And I decided, I think I was maybe 4 or 5 years old when I did this. I decided I'd collected a lot of really cool rocks. And so I was going to set up a table, not a lemonade stand, but a rock stand, and sell rocks to the no one that ever drove past our house in the middle of nowhere. So there's no traffic. In addition to that, we lived on a gravel road and we were like a half a mile away from a rock quarry. We were literally surrounded by rocks. It wasn't really something where there was a lot of demand for people to buy them, but I had a business. I had a plan. I was going to sell these rocks. And I did sell one rock to the mailman. Talking to my mom about this recently, she pointed out, I said something like, I can't believe you were just letting me be out there with a table on the road. And she's like, you moron, I was always outside with you. But I don't have any memory of her being there. But it's another example of where she was like, cool, put your stand up on the side of the street, out by the street, sell your rocks. And she stood back and watched and clearly made sure I didn't get kidnapped. But it wasn't her rock stand, it was mine. And so, yeah, the rock business.
It's foreshadowing. And I think that the confidence that you had in that moment was largely because of the space that your mom gave you.
Yes. Yeah. And I even remember, and I don't remember what the conversation was, but I remember a conversation with one of my best friends a few, probably 20-ish years ago. And I said something that sounded braggadocious or overly complimentary of myself. And she commented on that in terms of she called out that I was saying whatever it was. And my exact response was, well, if I don't say it, who's going to? I was single. I wasn't in a relationship. I didn't have kids. And I was like, well, I have to be my own hype person. And I don't remember a time where I didn't feel that way.
I feel that so much. And it's not something that is innate for everyone. If we can flip the narrative a bit and be really positive when people are boosting themselves, plugging themselves, speaking highly of themselves, giving them the opportunity and space to do that is really powerful and supportive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something that you said that I want to expand on is you have a motto. Tell us what that motto is.
So my professional motto is keep playing. And so that's what I'm focusing on in that space. This point a year ago, I was in a corporate job. I knew my days or my time in that role were limited. And I was having a conversation with my personal trainer about what was next in my career. And she said something about starting my own thing, working for myself. And I had the same reaction I've always had when people mention that. I was like, ugh, no. Honestly, my exact phrase always was, I can't have my income be directly tied to my level of effort, which is probably not what I need 25 years of my corporate employers to hear. There's some days you're really pumped up and there's some days you're not. And I wasn't sure how that would play out. So I totally dismissed the idea. Cut to about a month later, my role was eliminated with my company. And
is that what you thought or knew was limited? Is that what you were referring to? Or were there other feelings you were experiencing in which you felt limited in that corporate setting?
There had been some significant changes that I didn't feel were going to set me up for personal success. And so as I was reading the tea leaves of where the organization was going, I didn't think I would be able to be my most effective, that I was going to be able to be my most valuable. And honestly, I didn't think I was going to be able to show up every day as my authentic self. And when I can be my authentic self is when I can be my most effective. So I was starting to become unhappy. I will be honest, I wasn't ready to leave on my own because I still thought I had value to give. And I think especially for people that work in coaching roles and these leadership development program roles, I get really attached to the people that I'm working with. And so that was part of it too, is I was spending a lot of time working with our high potential population, and I was loving that audience. I saw so much runway still of where my value could pour into their value. And so obviously the company had different plans, and so my role was eliminated. And I said, okay, well, that's happened. I spent the rest of that week just pretending like I was on vacation.
Sometimes you need that second to breathe
Yes.
when a change like that happens
Yes.
and kind of recalibrate.
I was the most popular person on the treadmill at the gym and then at the coffee shop after. Like, I loved those next 4 or 5 days. My plan was, okay, well, next week I'll start looking and I'll start seeing what's out there. And I knew I wasn't in a hurry, but the following week, my daughter, I have an 8.5-year-old daughter, she got flu A and it became pneumonia. And so I very quickly, life told me, no, sit your butt on this couch. And I immediately was thankful that I got to be a mom at home with a sick kid and not a mom at home trying to also dial into meetings and trying to also get work done. But while I was sitting there, I passively, scrolling through on the phone, flipping through, looked at job postings, and they all gave me the ick. Like, I could feel it in my stomach that I was done with that corporate formula. And so for years, just like my trainer, other people had said to me, you should do this for yourself. You could be your own company. And I thought, you know what? Let's give this a shot. Again, let's set up a rock table. In this case, it was, let's set up a leadership development and executive coaching consulting firm. And my thought was, I've got some time until my severance runs out, my benefits, I have some money available. And that was the beginning of it. Let's see what I can do.
It's interesting to compare the two versions of yourself, both you. How do those versions blend together? How do they differ all the while you're balancing motherhood? So how have you been able to determine corporate you, entrepreneur you, mother you,
Yeah.
and bring them together?
Well, first and foremost, I think it's important to say that I was blessed. I hate the phrase blessed. I was really lucky and I worked really hard. I don't do cliches. I was really lucky that, my first job out of college was with Target Corporation. And then I strung together other Fortune 50, Fortune 20 jobs. And along the way, I built a toolkit of how to run businesses. So there is no version of me as an entrepreneur if I hadn't had 25 years of boot camp experiences in those companies. The difference is I'm much more content with my ability and what I bring to the table in this space. I feel more fully confident in that because I think the difference is I was always having to maybe justify my approach or my style in the past. And now I have people going, no, we want to hire you because of your approach and your style.
Tell us a little bit about that approach because it's so valuable to have experience on both ends, right? And to build toolkits, to build foundations, to see that play out with hundreds, thousands of people. And now you have the opportunity to use that experience and spin it with your spin and your direction and creativity. So talk to us a little bit about that.
So the big thing I think is in the past, I maybe felt hampered by other people's politics is the word that comes to mind. But, by the time you get to, okay, let's build this leadership development program, there's the CEO's opinion of what it should be. There's this influential person's opinion of what it should be. And my job was to synthesize through all that. And right, that was the meat grinder. And then I turned out something that was like, is this the sausage each one of you individually ordered? Now I actually am living and more happy in the meat grinder role, right? My clients are coming and saying, we need this, we need this, we need this. And I'm able to turn around and make and monetize for myself, but make a deliverable to them that accounts for all that. So they don't have to be the one synthesizing through all these different opinions. What my clients get is they get somebody that learned the hard way, the easy way, and the medium way through those 25 years of experience.
Mm-hmm.
Learned from making some mistakes, learned from making some big, ooh, let's try this. And oh my God, it worked. Crap. Now what do we do kind of moments? All of that pays off now for the work I get to do for other people.
I agree with the word politics.
Yeah.
There's a lot to balance in any situation where you are taking or managing conflict or opinions and bringing it into a final result or strategy. So now that you've lived that for another organization, another company, and you are on your side of the table, what are some things you've learned about how to lead through that conflict, how to narrow in and focus in on what's going to come on the other side of that work?
So in the intake conversation, we talk about what do you need this to be to make you look like the hero? Who is your internal naysayer? Who's your internal cheerleader? Who do we need to win over with our design? And if they come back and they say, oh my God, our CFO thinks everything that comes out of XYZ company is brilliant. Okay, well, guess what? I'm going to go do some research on XYZ company because I'm almost transitioning what used to be my own personal ego now pays off in, okay, I'm giving my client the benefit of that ego. I'm giving my client the benefit of getting to be the smartest person in the room.
Mm. I love the piece of taking internal champions. If you don't know your internal champions, you can't answer that question or you haven't been asked that question. That's a shame. However, start there, right? You're asking the questions. Hey, how are we feeling out there? And getting a reply, and then starting to sort through who is really behind this mission, who's ready for this next step. And I think it's an interesting place for you to start, and it's right on the first page of your intake.
Yeah, it's early on. And honestly, I also make sure we give space and a voice to the non-traditional champion as well. Who's the person that hates everything, right? We all know that grumpy person, right?
Mm. Mm.
Well, great. Invite them to your first design session. Invite them early on because I'd rather get them evangelizing and advocating, or if nothing else, going, yeah, they asked my opinion on that. That buys that little bit of discomfort up front buys you so much time and so much goodwill further on. I think back to one of the first times I did that and it worked out really well was at a previous employer. I was building a college grad program and somebody said, Jen, no, nobody can come straight out of college and add value here within the first 6 months. My follow up to him was hold my beer, right? Watch me prove you wrong. And so I love to find those little statements and help clients uncover those statements now, because then we immediately tack a design solution onto that and they look like a hero.
Jen, that is your superpower. And that's
Yeah.
heart. That's heart leadership. You can't convince me otherwise to take the largest challenge, which is the negative narrative, and to say, let's bring them into the conversation. When you're external and you're looking in,
Mhm.
it's easier to say that. It's easier to encourage that and do it versus being internal and forgetting that those are our most valuable players and that those people need to be coached out or coached back in. And coaching back in means give them a voice. How would you encourage them, or what advice would you give for someone who is internal and trying to navigate what you do externally?
So my first thing I would encourage people to look at is what is the problem you have what's one problem you have that has legs? Meaning, hey, we've got this issue. And I'll go back and I'll use the college grad program, for example. We had an issue where we needed to create a pipeline to bring in people earlier in their career. Well,
Mm.
but what we also had was we didn't have a great way for people to try on people leadership before they actually got in the job. We didn't have a great way to spin up cross-functional knowledge across the business. So people kind of grew up in their kingdoms and they didn't leave those kingdoms. And so what I encourage people to do is, okay, yeah, you're building a college grad program or you're building a hypo program. What can you infuse in there that also makes cross-functional knowledge a little easier? what can you infuse in there that also makes a pipeline or a pathway for early in career hires? And because I think sometimes we look at these problems and we think, oh, I have this one problem, I need to solve it in its entirety in one solution. And I think sometimes we can chip away at it across a few different things. And then all of a sudden it doesn't seem like as big of a challenge.
Love that. Love that. Specifically in hypos, high performing individuals, which a lot of times we build around the hypos, right? And to your point earlier, we're also building around those that need to transfer over to that hypo bucket or come along for the ride. You mentioned a part of this program that honestly you should be so proud of because this had, I'm sure, a huge impact and probably still does today. Is that a true statement?
100%. So someone that I was kind of mentoring and coaching now runs the program. Through following her on LinkedIn, I get to see when they hire the new class, but also the graduates that I hired in that first class are now managing people, are now doing amazing things. And I don't have access to the data, but I'll tell you from my LinkedIn stalking, the the retention from that pool of people is very high and
You're still
definitely
tracking it. You're still
look,
tracking it.
somewhere I will build a spreadsheet for it, I'm sure.
It's important to have leadership as a jacket, right? I
Mm,
liked how you said you try it on
yep,
before you actually get to live and sink into that role. I think about, well, one of the reasons this platform and this show and our conversation exists is to hopefully grow conversations that help leaders who are in the field out in real life or exploring leadership. They have some context, some stories, some best practices to really use along the way. But I loved how you said try on people leadership before you step into that really important position.
we had a woman, we called them rotation leaders. She was working
Mm.
on a rotation with the recent college grads. And at the end of her rotation, when we were having a debrief meeting, I could tell she was nervous. And she looked at me and she said, I don't want to, after this experience, I don't want to lead people. And I said, that is amazing. Congratulations. And I know that wasn't what she expected. And I think there's a lot of rhetoric out there, and especially because we compensate for that, that sometimes the only way to make more money is to take on responsibility for the care and feeding of human beings.
Mhm.
But the reality is, you have to care about that human being and all the pieces that go along with that as much as you care about contract signings and KPIs and revenue streams. And not everybody wants to care about those two things equally. And that's fine. That is great.
Love that message.
That's great.
That's a beautiful message. It's as simple as you don't have to.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
No.
Yeah. It's a testament to the program that you built and a testament to helping individuals find their authentic fulfillment, find their path, find their voice, what impact do they want to make? And it can be just as valuable and impactful to make a difference on a product, on a service, not just on people. And I think that that's a beautiful takeaway.
And that impact you make might come in your kid's school or coaching a soccer team or being on the board for your library foundation. Sometimes our jobs are going to offer us a little bit, but we have whole lives to add impact to.
What is your take on whole human leadership? You just mentioned that there's so many different facets to us as women, as leaders, as people on the earth. How do you integrate this into your conversations or encourage it?
So this happened along the time around the same timeline of becoming a parent, but I realized that my key the key to my personal success and fulfillment was being able to show up and be authentically me. And
Mm,
I had this aha too of how can I ever expect or ask someone else to do that if I'm not doing that? And so, that came out of, through DEI learning and inclusion learning and just as we grew out those spaces in different companies. But that was a big thing for me, what whole human means is I have to be able to bring everything. I have to be able to say, I can't care about XYZ topic right now because this happened to my kid at school today. Or I can't sorry, I can't volunteer at the bake sale because I don't want to. I would love to have a more professional reason, but no, I don't want to go to the bake sale. I say all the time, I'm a really good checkbook volunteer. I was a better checkbook volunteer before I owned my own company. Now I actually do help with my actual physical labor, but all of those pieces, and it's making space for the fact that today, 8 to 5, work might be the most important top of mind thing, and it might not be. And if, as a leader, you make the space for the individual to, great, let me know when you're going to be able to get to that. Our due date is still Thursday. As long as you can hit the due date of Thursday, I'm good with that. And then you pivot to, how can I help with the other? Do you just need to say something and get it off your chest? I had a leader early in my career. I remember walking into her cube. That's how early in my career it was. And you'd just dump, whatever was on your mind. And she'd say, okay, are you venting or do you need me to do something? And that
Mm.
to me is what whole human looks like. And 9 times out of 10, I was like, no, I think I'm venting. I think I just need to call him and ask that question. Saved her a great amount of time, right? And we each learned a lot from our process, or learned how to solve our own problems.
It's so true that that unload is such an important piece of leadership and whole human leadership. It's hard to do.
Yes.
As on either end, it's hard as a team member to express that sort of vulnerability and to
Yeah.
share insights and details. We've been told it makes us sound weak, look distracted, hurting our productivity, you name it. We've been told it.
Yeah.
But on the other end of that is real understanding of where someone is and how we can be more positively productive together because we know
Yeah.
what's going on and we can share in that load. So your leader was really she was ahead of her time. Well, she was a she.
She's also a Jennifer. But I think the other thing that needs to be said, because there's probably a lot of leaders that'll listen to this and go, oh, I can do that. Great. You should do it. You should give your team the space to vent and then ask if what you can do to help. But you can't keep receipts on that. If you're
Mm-mm.
going to leave the space and you're going to be the safe space for them to come and dump, then you can't come at the end of the quarter or at the end of the year and ding them for their emotional resilience or their one thing or the other. And if you can't do that, if you can't let that go, if you want to keep those receipts, then don't be the place that they vent and that they dump info to.
The word receipts made me go in a different direction with that is don't take the each transaction if someone is expressing and venting and you've opened up the space for that in your leadership. Fantastic. Don't solve it.
Yeah. Yes.
As leaders,
Yes.
we go right into you're venting, you're sharing. There's a family issue, there's a challenge you're experiencing. Don't solve it.
Ultimate, do you remember the video? This was years ago. It's not about the nail. And
Mhm.
the woman and her boyfriend or husband are talking, and then they pan back and she literally has a nail coming out of her forehead.
Wait, actually, I don't remember that.
Yeah. She kept the boyfriend kept trying to be like, well, but she's like, no, just listen to me. And, she's talking about, it snags my sweaters and it's this. And he's like, well, but it's the nail. And
Mhm.
you're right. It might be super duper obvious. There might be a very easy claim, but you're going to pay off that person's time and your own time way more if you don't solve every single instance.
That's
Now,
right.
the flip side of that is I like it when there are times where I would go to a leader and be like, just tell me what to do. Don't coach me on this. I'm over it. I've been thinking about it for 20 minutes. I can't handle it anymore. Just tell me what to do. We have to be okay with those moments as well.
Thanks for that reminder because that is one thing that is one of the greatest challenges in leadership for me on my personal journey is to just tell someone what to do when they want to be told what to do. And there's a balance between giving your team a voice and helping them find and solve with their own creativity within their own capacity. And there are times, especially in a healthcare setting,
Yes.
where things are escalated and the team wants to drive and they want to just do what they need to do. And I live in that trust yourself
Yeah.
world. And there are times where people don't want to trust themselves. They say, you tell me, and I'm going to go do that. So that was a good
And I think
reminder and call out.
going back to whole human, it goes into they might have already made 40,000 decisions just to get to their before they got to their conversation, like what to have for lunch and how to get to work and what to do with this. And the cleaners are coming to the house and whatever. Sometimes we're done with decisions.
Oh my gosh. I want to talk about two things. You mentioned ego earlier, and then I want to segue into motherhood and the mental load, which you're referring to. So let's talk about ego first, because I'm sure that has gone into how you show up as a mom, how you show up as a leader, a business owner. And it was an interesting call out, and you said it so swiftly. And I wrote down, need to come back to that. How have you done some ego work, and what has that journey looked like for you?
Know that I've done ego work necessarily. So here, we'll do a little live ego work as we're talking. What I have done over the last year, and this was something that came from the therapist I was working with at the time, is I think I have shifted ego to trusting my future self.
Mm.
And if I look back at what was perceived as an abundance of ego, maybe 10, 15 years ago in my career, that's the outward presentation of it. The internal reality was I wasn't trusting my future self. I was trying to control, if I don't make this perfect decision right now, then I can't control what's going to happen down the way. And over the last 8 to 10 years, I've really leaned into more that our job as leaders is to be a catalyst. Our job as leaders is just to know which switch to flip at which time and then see what happens. And honestly, my journey to parenthood through adoption was the ultimate case study and the biggest piece of that ego work that I did, if we're going to call it work.
Yeah, well, it was real-time decision-making that was kind of flexing you in and out of what you knew, what you didn't know, and got you to your future self. So what went into making such a courageous, bold, and meaningful decision?
Yeah.
When was that moment that you knew you
Mm.
were going to adopt and this is what your future would look like?
So I can still picture exactly where I was sitting. And actually, the anniversary of me saying out loud, I'm going to adopt, was 2 days ago, the 15th. Yes. Yes.
Congratulations.
And so through work, I had been given a retention bonus from my company. And it was a sizable amount of money, enough that I said, well, this can be life changing of some sort, right? This wasn't get a new handbag money, right?
Side note, we love a retention bonus.
Love
Anyone
retention.
looking for a strategy, let's talk more about it.
And yes, and I will
I digress.
100%. And yes, I felt valued, I felt seen, and I know that my effort paid that retention bonus back 3 times over. But I had been given this bonus and I knew it was big money I needed to do something with. And so I had a point where I stopped and I was like, well, I've wanted to be a parent. I should do that. And for about 20 minutes one afternoon, also on the 15th, I considered going through the medical route and becoming pregnant. I was single. I was not meeting anyone that I wanted to go out on another date with, let alone have a human being created with. And so I was like, maybe I'll see about getting pregnant. And through the course of one conversation with my health insurance and finding out that my health coverage wouldn't kick in until I was pregnant. So,
Interesting.
right.
I
So
didn't know that.
my money, the retention money I had, would then have to potentially go to the process of becoming pregnant. And I was pragmatic enough to be like, well, wait, what if I spend all my money on that and I can't get pregnant? And then I've got nothing. And around that same time, I had a day, just a long day, a normal December day in Indiana. You come home, it's already dark, right? And I thought, my God, I can't imagine doing this evening if I was 8 months pregnant and alone. And so I was very quick to say, no, I am not interested in that. And what I realized was my goal was to be a parent, not to be pregnant. And so I very quickly said, okay, adoption. And I said it out loud to a friend that night at a happy hour. And she had adopted her children, and she was all about it. And that was the middle of December. January, I was registered with an adoption agency. And it was the
Wow.
same ridiculous internal sense of confidence of, okay, let's just see what happens. Let's see what we can do here. And so it was just followed the process. What that forced me to do, though, was I'm not an expert in the adoption process. And so I couldn't control every single step. And I came to a new philosophy around decision making. And this is probably the precursor of trust my future self, which was I'm not going to be able to journey map this entire process out. What I can say is, what decision do I have to make today? I have to decide which agency to pick. Great. Okay. Now, what's the next fork in the road that's been presented? That says a lot. I mean, that's a lot about my parenting style in general, but then that same thing played into, okay, my role's been eliminated. What's the decision point? Corporate job, start my own thing. Okay, we're going to follow start my own thing. And and that's something I talk about a lot with clients in coaching too, where I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Stop trying to borrow all the trouble that comes with having everything figured out. What's the thing we have to decide today? We'll figure
Ooh,
the
borrowing
next
trouble.
we'll figure the next thing out later.
Yeah, you have such a beautiful philosophy. My mind is going in a million directions, but I want to learn more about the process of adoption and just one or two call outs that you would make having been through the process now that you absolutely did not know going into it.
I will say, and I don't know that there's a lot of people that would say this, which is I'm very thankful for my daughter. I'm very happy. I'm conflicted about my beliefs about adoption now that I'm on the other side. Adoption,
Mm.
becoming a parent in this way will challenge every paradigm you've ever held. And the reality is, we all want to think that the expectant mother is the straight A cheerleader that just, had made one mistake. And the reality is that's not the situation. And what I understand a lot more is our country doesn't do a great job of helping everyone be successful. So I just have to put that out there. So the first thing I'll tell you is adoption will challenge every paradigm you ever hold. I had an initial adoption where I had been picked by the birth mother. I thought for sure it was going to happen. This
Mm.
woman was incarcerated. Of course, she's going to choose to place a child for adoption. She didn't. And so all of those things that you're like, well, of course this is going to happen. You can't think about it that way through your lens of, employed, doing well, upper middle class person with XYZ lifestyle, right? Um, and then the other piece that really comes into it is I have to be open to an entirely different set of questions and dynamic from my child. She's going to have, and she already is, but curiosity around, well, where did I come from? Who can I look to for my history? And that's probably the first place my ego had to get checked
Mm.
because at the end of the day, there's another entire family. There's another entire path in her life. And I think I'm a great mom. We have a great dynamic. It is the two of us against the world. And her natural questions and curiosity and my family doesn't look like me. None of that reality takes away from my value as her parent or the love we have as a family.
Do you designate time to have those conversations as she becomes curious? Because that is, I would imagine, a big fear when you think about adoption is how am I going to know all of the things that they're going to want to know? And you have, with your philosophy of wait until that fork in the road
Yep.
and then make that decision.
Yep.
I think it applies here so beautifully because my mind and a lot of our brains goes towards let me figure out all of the answers now so I can be prepared.
Yeah.
When that's just not how
No.
it is, I would imagine.
No, so it is. It's 100% wait for the question to be asked and then answer the question. Couple things. One, I started practicing talking about it and saying it when she was weeks old. And
Mm.
so she was born in the middle of May, and I want to say it was like middle of June, there was a really ugly protest in Charlottesville, Virginia. So I have this 3 or 4 week old baby, and I remember sitting on the couch and being like, well, we're going to practice having a tough conversation now. I was probably delirious. Let's be clear. I mean, I had a newborn. I was not all there, but I started then. And so it's a combination of wait until the question's asked and then ask the question. The other thing, and a lot of parents will tell you this, is don't answer more than what was asked, right? When
Mhm.
you get the where
That's
do
right.
babies come
That's right.
from doesn't require a 45-minute, it's like they come from here, right? So I only answer the question that was asked, but I also have a very strict rule of I don't lie. And so all the way up to a year ago, she said to me, "Are you Santa Claus?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I got the direct question, so I'm given the direct answer." And that goes into everything in our
You
relationship.
said, "Yes, I am,
I
and
did.
I don't go to everyone's house."
I did. I said, "Yeah, yes, I am." And you know that child, and this was the biggest, I was like, "I'm doing something right." She stopped for a second, and then she gave me the most like gut-wrenching, crushing hug and looked at me and said, "Thank you so much for everything." I was like, "Well, I'm never going to top this. Like, this was max out parent moment." So,
That's powerful
yeah,
for her to in that moment so quickly to conceptualize what it meant
yeah,
all those
yeah.
years. Wow.
And it's just the two of us in the house. So, like any only child, oldest child, she's around adults a lot. So, there's pros and cons of that. She's going to be a great 25-year-old. We just
Yes,
have
she
to
will.
live to get there together. So,
I can't wait to hear back from you. I'm laughing because I'm thinking of 13, 14, 15,
she
16.
already has a skincare routine that takes 20 minutes in the morning. So,
Girl,
I don't know what 13, 14 is going to look like.
we're gonna have to drop that skincare routine in the comments because that's hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
It really is. I was having that conversation earlier today with someone who works in the beauty industry, and she's like, it's incredible how kids are taking advice from 60-year-olds on skincare routines. 60-year-olds are taking advice from 20-year-old. Like, it's gotten messy, but good for her. She's moisturizing.
Yes, she is. She's got a toner she spritzes with the whole thing.
And you were so supportive for her to do
I
that.
am. I am.
You mentioned only answering the questions that you're asked in parenting, and I took that beyond so many times. That is the crux of our leadership, especially as women. I had a male CEO. He told me, speak in bullets.
Yes.
You have too many things that you're saying.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, okay, well, fix your leadership, fix the delivery on that. That wasn't necessary. And then I also realized we give our heart and our heart comes through. And then we do start to answer beyond the original question. Have you had to put that in practice in other areas of your life beyond motherhood?
Yeah. Where it was really obvious to me and smacked me in the face as to how much I do it, I had the opportunity to be in Tanzania on a work project. And we were partnered. So it was leaders from around the world, and we were partnered with local Tanzanian medical officials. And they all spoke English. They wrote English more proficiently. But what I started to realize is we want to story tell every time they answer.
Mm.
And what you're doing is throwing more words at them that are out of context. So
Mhm.
it was a legitimate language barrier. It was something I tried to bring back to on the job, which is, what is the shortest way I can answer this? And now in my coaching, a lot of times I will help individuals, especially earlier in career individuals, understand the idea that it's okay if you get done with your presentation and they have 10 questions. It means you made them curious. What you don't want is to drone on for 45 minutes and nobody has any questions because they stopped listening to you at minute 4, right? And so I've seen it come to play in both those places. Something
Mm.
I do a lot is, here's the short answer, and then if you want to scroll down, here's more of the context.
I love that. There's also a lot of power in a quicker, more direct answer. The flip side of that is there can be a stigma to that. It can be rude, it can be too direct, et cetera, et cetera. But there's a balance and there's a practice in taking a question, thinking about your answer for 3 seconds, delivering it with a solid period.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. Look, just
interesting.
today, somebody said, well, can you do XYZ? No.
No.
No is a complete sentence. Now, if that person wants to tell me why, okay, here are the challenges to it. You didn't ask me, say yes or no and give me the answer or give me the data points. So sometimes no is the complete sentence, and that's okay.
Right. It is okay. Your leadership has evolved over time.
Yes.
I think, we touched the first time we spoke, we touched a little bit on some of those leadership truths. And in this conversation, control has come up a couple times. I know that exists and it's intertwined, and you've worked on not controlling the outcome and rather to make decisions as they arise. So, talk to me about control versus influential leadership. How is Primrose helping with that,
Mhm.
or is it challenging that version of yourself?
Yeah. So I mean, a big part of it, and look, I think a lot of us had to confront control issues in going into and working through COVID, because it was all of a sudden we had no control over anything. And then layer on that I changed jobs in that. I had a 3-year-old, I was a single parent. That it was hard. That's the hardest. I think the biggest thing where my leadership has changed is leadership is not about controlling all the details. Honestly, controlling all the details is the work of your most amazing individual contributor. Leadership is just about curating an environment and making sure everybody understands how they're going to chip in, and then being ready to react when things work well or don't work well, right? So just creating Primrose Leadership Solutions was a huge giving up of control, because I can control what's on my website. I can control how what I put in a proposal. I can't control if you buy it.
Amen.
I can't control if you like the fact that my company colors are hot pink. Well, we're not, right? That's what makes sense to me and that works for me. I'm putting it out into the world. What I can control now in this part of my life is my family's happiness. I can control the pace of our life a lot more, and being able to have a slower start to our morning and have a little more free time to do things together has made me less inclined to control the professional details. There's a lot more balance in our day-to-day than there ever was before.
I think that's a really beautiful take on the change and how it can redefine what control means in your life and beyond. I don't know that I'm going to recall this perfectly, but we talked about this the other day, and you had such beautiful notes on, gosh, it was like maybe fearing being in the room or the courage it takes to be in the room. I don't know if you remember
Yeah.
what you were speaking to.
Well, I remember us talking about the fact that there's some people that just work so damn hard to just be in the room. And then they get there and they don't know what their value is or why they're being in the room. Whatever the room is the status symbol that they're working towards attaining. And then they get there and everybody's like, well, what are you doing here? or they shrink back because they don't know what to add. And I think, I told you this when we first met, I love the in the room on purpose, because I think the reality is there are rooms we need to be in, whether it's personal or professional. But when we're there, we have a job, and our job is to contribute. It might not be to have the boldest or the most brilliant idea. It might be to amplify the person in the room that does. But our purpose in that room is to do more than just protect our seat. And I think when we work and spend all our time trying to get invited, then we spend all our time trying to keep the seat, and nobody really knows why we're there in the first place.
I want to double down on that because you mentioned it earlier, the anxiety that comes with thinking through your next step holds you back from impacting people's lives in the present moment. And it is so distracting. And if you're chasing down, the next thing, like you mentioned, you really are holding yourself back from your full potential in the present time. And when you're in that room as a contributor, it's so important to stay focused on that. And I know I've made that mistake in my own career, 1,000 times.
Yeah. I remember being in a room once, this was years ago. I was the only woman. I mean, there was like 25 people in this room. I was the only woman in the room, and I was the only person under, I'd have to do the math. I was the only person under 40 for sure. I could have spiraled on that for sure. But instead, what I said was, oh, this is interesting. I'm the only woman here, the only person under 40. I'm also the only person that understands this, or this, whatever those things were. Okay, that's why I'm here. And I think sometimes, and it goes back to the cliche of imposter syndrome, and it goes back to all this stuff, we spend all our time just spinning on what makes you different or an outlier, as opposed to what you've brought. There was this Instagram post recently, and it was something about, what do I bring to the table? And it lists all these things. And at the end, it goes, I am the damn table. And I think if we all show up and just believe we are the table, then all of a sudden the table just got a whole lot bigger, whether we're male,
Yeah.
female, over 40, under 40, whatever.
Flip that narrative.
Yes.
Flip that narrative. I'm the only woman in the room. I'm the only woman in this room.
Right, right.
Yeah.
This was in a retail company. So guess what? That means I'm the only one that knows what it's like to go out and buy sweat socks for your whole family, or whatever that might have been.
Yeah. It's powerful. I know that you have a beautiful circle of women around you, and beyond, but most notable, your mom, who is a big part of your life and your daughter's life, and your best friend, who is on a solopreneur journey. And you guys have these meetings that I would love to chat through.
Yes. I feel like I have to first say that I think it was Mindy Kaling that I got this quote from, that best friend is a tier, not a single title. So I'm going to talk about a person in that tier. Look, they're all going to want to listen to my podcast, and I don't want them to get upset that I'm only talking about one of them. But yes, my friend, also a Jennifer, earlier this year, after going through her own professional professional experience, decided to start a health and wellness coaching business. She keeps saying I'm 6 months ahead of her. I feel like I'm only about 3-ish months. But we started, when she said, okay, I think I want to do this, we started meeting regularly. And in fact, just today, I sent the invite for all of 2026. We get together once a month.
Nice.
And we have a legitimate meeting. We come with, I need your help on this. I need your thoughts on this. What do you think about this client? And our businesses are doing nothing similar, right? But it's through the lens of, I need to pitch to this client. What do you think I should do? Or how would you price this? And we are sounding boards. And what's really been cool about it is it keeps us accountable. So we will literally say, here's what I want to accomplish before we meet again. And it scares the hell out of me to think if I have to show up and tell her I didn't get something done for whatever reason. But also, it allows us to keep that part of our relationship in that space. And so then when we are with our friends, or when we are in truly a social dynamic, it gets to be about being people that have known each other since we were 10 years old. And our business side can be in our business conversations.
It builds in this level of accountability with someone you trust.
Yeah.
It's also building a team
Yes.
in a solopreneur environment, which can be alienating and really lonely.
Yeah.
And the dynamic that you guys are creating and the energy and the momentum that you're getting from these discussions is impacting your day to day and your mental health. I mean, I love what you guys are doing.
100%. It's been really good. So as Primrose Leadership Solutions has grown, then Jen and Banu Wellness has come online, and it is really fun to watch the back and forth. And then there's the silly friend stuff. Like I went with her when she had her branding photo shoot. Who doesn't want to go do that with a friend, right? It's so fun. So
It's
fun.
so fun.
Yeah.
We're wrapping up here, but before
Oh,
we do, we're going to play a game at the end of the show. And then before we get there, what are some highs from this past year that you would call out in your life?
okay. So first one, because I went today, I have really created and become a devotee of reformer Pilates.
Yes.
I'm obsessed. It's the most absurd workout ever, and I love it. So that's definitely a high. Taking this gamble on myself and seeing a really amazing business come out of it with Primrose is it's gonna be a high that carries me for several years, I think. And it will keep, because this year has gone well, it will keep me motivated to continue to grow and drive the business for sure. And then the other one is, and if on the video side, you all have seen me lift up my IU cup. I went to Indiana University and I don't think we touched a football until 2024. We are now the number one team in the country, and it has just been
Yeah.
an amazing experience. And I say this because I do think in my memory, growing my business and fully sinking into who I am as a mom and as a business owner runs alongside with this crazy football team story. And so in my memory, they will always be together. So, yeah,
What a year.
it's what a year. Now, I will say I'm real tired, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. Can we talk about the amount of sweat that your body produces on a reformer? Like you're slipping and sliding over the equipment.
Yes. And then they're like,
It is
let's stand
so
up on
heavy.
this thing. I'm like, let's do what? And then
Where?
put your foot in this loop and then grab this ball. I mean, it is totally absurd. And that's 100% what I love about it. So I will also say, just as a plug for the reformer Pilates, is it is, as someone who runs a million miles an hour while I'm awake, it is impossible while I'm there to think about anything other than what I'm doing. So if I've tried this year to build a meditation practice. I've done yoga for years. Yoga, my mind can still wander in certain poses, etc. It can't in Pilates because they've got my ankle behind my shoulder and a toe wiggling. And so that, I think, it's not an accident that this exercise process has also come with my entrepreneurship journey, because it is the one place that I can really turn off the background processor of my brain.
Amen. Couldn't have said it better myself. Okay, build it or leave it because you are a builder, you are growing your
Okay.
business, and you're so creative. So, this might be an interesting bit to learn about you.
Okay.
So, build it or leave it. A side hustle not profitable yet.
Leave it right now. There's one that I just dabbled on that I'm like, ooh, that could be a thing, but it would truly be like a crafty, it's a totally different direction, but I'm not there yet. So leave it.
I love that. Leave it. Board seat.
Leave it. Just rolled off of a board real good to not get back in that anytime soon.
Mm, that could be for some a hot take. And I love that you're leaving that. I love that you're leaving that. It's all about the
Work
timing in your world.
100%. I would love to work with boards that is, do coaching, do group dynamics with them. For me, there were just enough dynamics and enough things. I was like, I gotta leave this over here, for now. So it's just not for me.
Yeah. A program someone wants you to create.
Build it. I've got 2 proposals going out later this week.
Hell yeah. Scary leadership opportunity.
Leave it. Because I'm assuming what you mean is like an in-house full-time job somewhere. So I'm saying leave it.
Love it.
Yep.
Starting a business with a friend.
Build it. I would gladly do that.
Love it.
Yep.
Love it.
Yep.
A long-held dream. Build it or leave it.
Build it. I have to come up with some new dreams. So I'll have to work on that.
Misaligned relationships.
Well, leave it.
Build it.
Leave it.
Leave it.
I have a track record of cutting people, dropping people if it's not working. So
Right out.
Yep. Yep.
Collaboration without full trust.
Leave it.
This one was a hard one for me when I was thinking through it because I'm the type of person that really has to feel energy and find that really natural, like we're good people, we want to make a good thing.
Yeah.
And know that sometimes for some humans that takes longer than
Yes.
others.
Yes.
So that was a hard one for me. You say leave it.
But it goes back to, I think you asked this or that in the beginning about instinct or data. And what I will tell you is I am a very good reader of people. And so if I can't trust after a first run or first encounter or first experience, it's probably not coming. So
Yeah. It's great advice to let it go. It's okay to let it go. It's okay to leave it.
yeah. And look, maybe that collaboration opportunity comes back in a month or 6 months or something, and people are in different places and the circumstances are different. I'd be open for a second conversation, but no, I'm good to leave it on that.
Yeah. That comes with life experience, I'd say too.
I think so too. Yes.
This one's interesting. Future version of yourself. Build it or leave it.
Oh, build it. Always.
Yeah.
Always.
It's twisted, but
Yeah. No, always
it's
build
a build.
it. Look, 47-year-old me is really cool. 27-year-old me was a different version. 57-year-old me is just going to be amazing. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last one, saying yes before you're ready.
I'll build it 100%. I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
I think yes, it's the figure it out mentality. It's the we got this.
Yep.
And it's that innate confidence that has truly been the through line to your life and your story.
Yes.
And I hope and I know that if one person or 1 million people are listening, that confidence, while it may not be innate for everyone in life, it is something you can always build towards. And something you can practice over time. But for you, it has been one of the most powerful pieces to your personality that has brought your motherhood to life, that has brought your business to life, that has brought different initiatives and tools that have changed other people's lives. It's really, really powerful.
Thank you. I need you to come and tell me that every day. That doesn't get old. It'll be my new alarm clock. Awesome.
Okay, we're going to end it with keep playing because that is what it's all about.
Keep playing in 2026.